Welcome to Ebrix Gaming and Cards. In this episode, we will be upgrading the Endless Punishment pre-constructed deck from Duskmourn, House of Horror. When upgrading this deck, our budget came out to $83. At the end, I will also go over swaps for a $50 and $100 budget. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. The commander we will be focusing on is Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls. Valgavoth is a 4 CMC Rakdos commander. His ability triggers whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns. This ability puts a +1/+1 counter on Valgavoth and you draw a card. So for this deck, we will be looking for repeatable ways to do damage to our opponents on their turns. Since this version of the deck relies on our commander for card draw, it will be important to get him out early and build our available mana quickly to be able to recast our commander as necessary. After we play our commander, we will build our board state with multiple sources of repeatable damage. This will be death by 1,000 cuts, and our commander will be used to finish off weakened opponents. The land base seemed very good for a precon. We will remove all the unconditional tap lands and add 2 lands, making the total land count 32. It's 33 if you count a MDFC in the removal category. The first 3 lands are Command Tower, Blightstep Pathway, and Sulphurous Springs. Then we will add 2 filter lands and Tainted Peak, all of which should be able to get both our colors in a normal game. The next 4 lands can produce both our colors and have conditions to come into play untapped. Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, and Ash Barrens can help get basic lands to meet some of the conditions on our previous lands. The next 3 lands are utility lands. They can produce colorless mana and also help us draw cards, gain life, and allow our commander to sneak in for commander damage. With our commander and land base, we have a total of 33 cards selected. To complete our mana base, the next thing we will look at is our ramp. We are trying to get out our commander and at least 1 repeatable damage source as soon as possible. So we are adding 16 sources of ramp. We do have a few sources of ramp that are intended to rebuild our board state later in the game by providing large amounts of mana, but these sources are usable only once. The first 8 pieces of ramp are the traditional artifact ramp, consisting of Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and a variety of 2 CMC mana rocks. The next 4 ramp spells can help us in the early game to play our higher CMC spells ahead of the curve. They are Simian Spirit Guide, Dark Ritual, Bubbling Muck, and Seething Song. The last 4 ramp spells all can produce large amounts of mana in the middle and late game. They are Seance Board, Everflowing Chalice, Glittering Stockpile, and the Reaver Cleaver. With our mana base complete, we have 49 cards selected, almost half our deck. Before we move to our next set of cards, let's go over some notable exclusions. Barb Flare Gremlin meets our game plan of doing damage on an opponent's turn, but the extra mana helps our opponents too much. Bastion of Remembrance is a payoff for creatures we control, while Blood Artist and Falconwrath Noble are general payoffs for creatures leaving the battlefield. We are not prioritizing creatures leaving the battlefield, so we excluded those cards. The Lord of Pain, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, and Star Athlete do not do damage on our opponent's turns. Fear of Burning Alive has a high CMC, and without a reliable way of getting the Delirium trigger, it's not worth keeping. Combustible Gearhulk, Harsh Mentor, and Mayhem Devil also do not fit our theme. We are also removing all the card advantage from the precon. If we can get our commander out, our damage sources will fulfill this role. The following 12 cards are all cards we are keeping from the precon. We are adding 14 cards to the previous 12 cards. This gives us a total of 26 cards that can be a source of damage and card draw. We are including 4 cards that damage our opponent on their upkeep. Roiling Vortex and Sulfuric Vortex are not creatures, so they can survive most board wipes. For punishing card draw, we include 6 sources. 3 are non-creature sources. This is a total of 10 sources that will trigger on all our opponent's turns. The next thing we will punish is casting spells. We include 4 sources that cause damage on the casting of a spell. Keep in mind some of these can damage us as well. This is why our sources of life gain can be so important. For token decks, we have 2 cards that do damage when a creature enters. They are Bloodseeker and Rampaging Ferocidon. Brash Taunter, Thermo Alchemist, and Curse of the Pierced Heart all can do repeatable damage, but not on every opponent's turn. Seer Conrad the Grim and Bloodchief Ascension work off cards entering the library. An important note is technically tokens are put in the graveyard before they are removed from the graveyard as a state-based effect. Some more cards that punish casting of spells are Gleeful Arsonist and Soot Imp. The last thing we're going to punish is the most basic part of playing Magic. This is playing and using lands. Another reason we are mana rock heavy is so we don't get punished by mana barbs to bad. With the core of our deck complete, we are at 75 cards. The next 7 cards are miscellaneous cards that help with our game plan in some way. Basilisk Collar can give a damage source Death Touch and lifelink, while Mask of Gristlebrand is here for lifelink alone. Temur Battle Rage can be used with our commander to take out an opponent. Carter, Doomscourge can be a potent card if your opponent's board states are large in the middle to late game. Rakdos, Lord of Riots can be played early to help your board state, as a 6/6 flyer with trample on turn 3 or 4 can force interaction. Vile Smasher does not fit our game plan and can be cut for any upgrade, but it is a fun card that can help ping our opponents down. Torture Pit is the only card currently in this list that offers an effect of increasing a source's damage. With these cards added, our total list is now at 82 cards. The last 2 groups of cards we are adding is Removal and Protection. For removal, we are taking out Braids, Arisen Nightmare, as we are not using the sacrifice strategy. Massacre Worm is a high CMC card that is not very efficient. Decree of Pain is a good board wipe, but way too costly. For 5 mana, Sadistic Sacrament may only kill 1 creature, and this is not efficient enough. Enchanter's Bane is just a bad card in this deck. Bedevil, Feed the Swarm, and Infernal Grasp are all fairly efficient for our budget, so we left them in this list. Rakdos Charm, Suspended Sentence, and Chaos Warp all have unique effects. I want Suspended Sentence to be good, but it may end up getting cut later. We are adding Fell the Profane, as it can be used as a land if needed. Lightning Bolt and Terminate are efficient removal. Lightning Bolt can even be used as card draw with our commander. For board wipes, we are keeping Blasphemous Act and Massacre Girl. Our deck now has 93 cards. We will complete our list with 7 protection cards. This deck was lacking protection, so we are adding 6 cards that can provide situational protection. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots both prevent our commander from being targeted. Bolt Bend, Flare of Duplication, and Return the Favor can copy or change the target of our opponent's spells. Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast are staples in red and can be removal or protection. With our selection complete, we are at 100 cards. The first changes we will discuss are for a more budget deck. For this deck, we will rely on more of a creature strategy. We will remove some more expensive cards to add back Blood Artist, Falconwrath Noble, Harsh Mentor, the Lord of Pain, and a basic Swamp. For the $100 upgrade, we are going to spend the last $20 to upgrade our mana base by adding 2 lands that can help us get untapped mana into play. If you made it this far, thank you. Please like and subscribe.